Hello everyone, Mrhappy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mrhappy, aka Mrhappy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. As you can see, doing the first Mondays video in a while. I did one like this back in September, the last time I was in Los Angeles, so this is the first official Mondays with Mrhappy for Los Angeles, because before it was just visiting. Now I'm here for good. So hopefully you enjoy it. I'll probably still be tweaking it over the weeks. As you can see, there's like a box under me and shit like that. Well, not even a box, it's just empty space under me where the question is going to go. But I just had an idea while I was recording this initial take. Let's do the videos for the week under there. I've been getting situated here, so I really haven't gotten to do too many videos, although I've done some scripts and I've been working on some videos. I haven't really gotten too many out other than State of the Realm, so apologies for that. I'll have more Trails in the Sky. I'm going to be finally finishing up Old Hunter, so there might only be like one or two videos down there. Maybe State of the Realm and like one other one. I don't know. I'll figure something out, but don't worry. We're going to be increasing the YouTube content that is coming out over the course of the next several weeks as I get more situated here. That being said, do have a few announcements. For one, will not be streaming this coming Saturday. Going to a wedding, actually. I had to go buy a suit this last weekend, and that was a lot of fun. My first tailored suit. I've worn like suit jackets and shit, but that doesn't that doesn't really count as wearing an actual suit. What else? Also, January 18th, going to be live streaming directly from the Blade and Soul launch event. We'll also be streaming the Blade and Soul pre-launch, which starts this Friday, January 15th. So be sure to tune into the stream for that. Looking forward, definitely, to finally having some permanent progress in Blade and Soul. It was rough for a while going through Blade and Soul with knowing it wasn't going to be permanent progress, but I learned a lot in that time, and I'm going to take what I learned there and apply it to the full game. Hopefully get out of 1450 ELO or wherever the hell I was stuck at when I actually stopped playing like 25 PvP matches in. And then there was one other thing. Oh, that's right. Won't be streaming, and you probably won't see too many YouTube videos between January 29th, just the end of January pretty much, because it's going to be at PAX South for PAX in San Antonio. So if you're going to be there, be on the lookout for me. You know, I'm always approachable when I'm at those things, as long as you don't see me rushing to get someplace. Like, oh, I gotta get here. I didn't manage my time very well. And that happens occasionally, so keep that in mind. But hopefully if you're there, you get to hang out, get to see you, give you a high five, whoop bam. And that way we can all have the positive energy. Now, apologies again if I sound a little bit far away from the microphone. You can kind of see it coming into frame right here. It's got a shield and it's very controlled. The thing is, I'm in a corner right here, and sometimes I look away from the microphone. Like if I look like this, it's generally okay because the microphone is right here. But sometimes if you see me doing something like this, it can very easily turn into a situation where it sounds a bit more echoey. So just clarifying that I'm aware of some of those things. And now I think it's time we actually get into the Q&A. Is this the first Q&A of the year? No, it can't be the first. Last week's was the first Q&A of the year. This is just the first Q&A in Los Angeles. So let's get started. Now see how like the question is perfectly fitted under me. I know when I did it months ago, it was like I was looking at the question, but I don't know why. I kind of like this because still even back then I had like the question jumping into frame and I basically had to blow it up to a giant font and it looked kind of scary. So I kind of like this where it's just chilling under me, and it's also the same space for the videos directly under me. So like I said, it'll probably change. Probably work on something a bit more official for this layout, but we'll see. For the time being, I think this will do. So, first question of the week. Hi, Haps. I couldn't catch your streams lately since we went to Japan for the holidays. I remember you telling me about that. Hopefully you had a good time on, man. I'll be back soon, though. Anyways, here's my question. Do you think warriors will get a nerf? Yoshi P mentioned that they will keep on adjusting other classes when someone asked him about astrologians. You're talking about the 4Gamer interview, if I'm recalling correctly. Do you think they would rather bring the other two tanks closer to warrior or just straight up nerf warrior? So the thing is, I want to say this, yes, warrior I do find is the absolute strongest of the three tanks. That being said, it's pretty much its biggest strength at this point is in Storm's Path and Equilibrium. Those are really the two skills that kind of throw it over the top. Because as time has gone on, a lot of very skilled Dark Knights have started to surface. Yes, I do believe Dark Knight as a job is a bit dysfunctional. I believe some of its abilities don't really make sense in terms of inner job, like what's the word I'm looking for? It just doesn't make sense. Like, some of the abilities just don't make sense when you look at them and put them together on the same job. But it's all been working, and Dark Knights have been getting a lot closer to warrior DPS numbers like Yoshi P eventually said they would. So really, we're just looking at Paladin here, and if anything, I'd rather have Paladin brought up than warrior brought down, because there's things about the Paladin that can very clearly be improved, as well as there are things about the warrior that can very clearly be brought down, such as the amount of health regenerated from equilibrium, its dual functionality, and the fact that Storm's Path is a staggering 10% of all damage as long as it is coming from the target you're applying it on. So there's room. I don't think they'll flat out nerf the warrior. I say flat out nerf. I don't think there'll be big nerfs to the warrior, if anything at all. I think it's more important to bring Paladin up to a point where they're happier with Paladin than it is to bring warrior down to everything else. Oh, just Storm's Path, man. Crazy, crazy ability. It's great. Everyone, Fellcleave. Now. Alright, next question. Happy LA Happy. Or Happy Law Happy. There you go. I have two short questions. Alright, let's see what the first one is. When do you start playing the background music in your Monday videos? I only noticed it in the latter half. It's definitely a more protruding track, if that makes sense, towards the latter half, but it plays throughout the entire thing. The first two tracks are a little bit harder to hear, though. Those two I find are a lot more, they pop a lot more, so I have the volume lower on them, but then the other song is, like, you can hear it constantly because it's a constant beat, but it's a lot easier to distinguish, but the whole video has music. And then the second question is, do you think we'll ever revisit the old class guilds, if only to continue some of those stories? I would really like to go back to some of the classes to do these stories, like Pugilist. Yeah, Pugilist is a story. I'm very bad with remembering the exact specifics, but I remember it being one of my favorites for the classes. I didn't pay attention to too many of the class quests, mostly the job quests, and even then, didn't pay too much attention to a lot of those. But I would like to, and Yoshi P said he would like to go back to them just for their stories at some point as well. I don't think it necessarily has to be tied to the delivery Moogle, or it doesn't have to be directly tied to your job or your class. I would like to go back and learn what those characters have been doing since we kind of completed their story, their stories, or whatever is going on. Have a wonderful Sunday, and have a minion as a payment. If you don't want the minion, take 1,000 tomes of whatever that you can give to Mel, or both, because why not? All of these things. All of these things. And next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. For State of the Realm, I recall you mentioned you had plans to bring back Ms. Tech as well as some of the other guests. Or was I dreaming that you said that? No, I said that we're not opposed to the idea. It's just a matter of timing and making sure there's adequate topics to talk about. Making sure that it works for all parties. Because a lot of the times, it's not convenient for people to always be on that show with the time slot that it is. Because it sits right in the middle of the week. Some people just get home and they're eating dinner. Some people are spending time with their significant others. Some people are streaming themselves. So it is a pretty rough time to get guests on the show. That being said, we're always looking into guests, so never rule someone out. You know, pretty much never know. You never know. Next question. All right, Mush. No tombstones today, but Geralt has the item for you. All he needs is the password. Yeah, the password. I got that. I got the password, definitely. I wanted to ask a non-Final Fantasy XIV content question, since you seem to know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. Are you kidding me? I'm fucking dumb as a rock. I'm so uncultured, and like I don't understand so many things. All right, let's see what it is. Let's see if it's something I'll understand. Okay. I've been in and out of the hospital, had some issues in my life, but I don't know how to make friends. It sounds silly, but it's true. With the recent announcement of the Fan Festival in 2017, well, if you're in Europe, it's 2017, it'll be 2016 for Japan and North America, I'm trying to make some friends to go to the Fan Fest with. Do you have any advice for me on how I go about making friends and not getting douchey people or getting fucked over? People usually say, just do it! But that's no help. Thanks in advance. Keep up the content. Happy apps. Yeah, it's a good thing you didn't ask us to slide, because he would be like, use your words. Use your words. And I'd be like, yeah, that kind of advice doesn't necessarily work in a situation like this. I would, when I was younger, I had issues, not making friends. I just had my friend circle was very limited. I had a lot of trust issues when it came to friends growing up. When it came to friends growing up, I had a lot of trust issues. Eventually, I just found a common thing, and I just talked. You know, I was always willing to listen, always willing to talk, and it's something that just kind of comes naturally. You can't force someone to make friends. Like, you can't force someone to be your friend, and you shouldn't mold yourself to meet the image of the people you're trying to befriend, because you want people who befriend you naturally for you. If you have any sort of self-issues that you need to overcome, you feel like maybe they're specifically holding you back, then you're already, first step. You're already aware of one of the problems. I like you can just see the word eat. I just realized this is eat, sleep, game, repeat, because it's an Origin PC shirt. Shout out to you, Kuzi, and Origin PC. That being said, it just says eat. Everyone's like, why does he have a shirt that just says eat? I'm sorry, I'm laughing in the middle of a very serious question right now. I just couldn't help but notice it while I'm looking at the camera. But yeah, it's just something that comes naturally, and while I could sit here and kind of give you the generic advice people kind of give, I don't believe in giving the generic advice. That being said, I'll probably say it right now anyway. Just it's gotta happen naturally. You just gotta. As much as I was making fun of Sly for it, it is. You just gotta use your words. You just gotta put yourself out there. You'll probably get burned a few times, but don't always go in thinking that the person or the people that you're talking to are douchey or they don't like you. Always think that they're your friends. Always try to socialize and find common ground, because that's really how lasting friendships are formed. And I can tell you that. Even if it's something, one or two, maybe three things that kind of create that lasting friendship, as long as they're what you have in common, it'll last a pretty long time. Hopefully, if not, you can always go to Fan Festival and meet people there as well. I know it's a lot more intimidating and not what I would recommend if you're someone who's a bit shy, but you should go to have fun, the bottom line is. And hopefully you can find some people that you can go with and hang with whether it be in your free company or whatnot, to, just to have a good time while you're there. And I hope that you do have a good time while you're there, man. And remember, eat. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, I appreciate each question of mine you answer, so I have all the tomestones you need to complete your ninja's relic weapon. Oh, God. I'm working on my monk on my alt now, as opposed to my ninja on my main. Ugh, so much. Alright, it's fine. I haven't been working on it hard. I've been making money in 14 as opposed to working on my anima. Just a bigger priority for me right now. But the question's not about that, so let's move on. I know what you mean by giving out extra rewards in the duty roulette. Oh, yeah, I answered that question last week about why don't they give, law or poetic tomestones when you're doing leveling roulette on a non-60. I remember answering that question. But would it be so bad if the player already has a 60 or more to reward the tomestones as they level up other jobs so they can grind out the relic weapon or anima weapon? We gotta start calling it an anima weapon. It's not a relic weapon. I do this too. It's not a relic. No one's going to be able to stop calling it a relic. It's not going to happen. When it is around and still level up other jobs. This is basically just asking me the same question for the second week in a row. To be honest, I honestly probably should have just moved past it, because it is just essentially the same question. You just have to balance reward. You're dedicating yourself to do the anima weapon. Who's to say you even are interested in leveling another job? Yeah, it opens the option up, but bottom line is you are already working on a common goal. It's not Square Enix's prerogative necessarily to make sure that you can access all those goals at once, because they're basically just making a change. That change would literally be there just for the sake of the anima weapon quest, because it doesn't make sense outside of that context, and I don't think they need to make a change specifically to the roulettes just to accommodate that. I feel like that kind of throws off balance for everything else, because then people who aren't working on the anima, now all of a sudden they're getting gear, like their tomestones for a level 60 class, or level 60 job I should say. I hope you're not still a level 60 class. They're getting gear for that job while not playing that job, and they're not learning that job. You can say some people just know a job when they hit it, or they could practice it after they have the gear, but getting the gear should be a point in which you try to use it as a learning process for how to play your job. And I feel like that's not really encapsulated here per se, because obviously you can be on any level 60 job, you can even be on level 50 jobs for other things while you're working on certain parts of the anima weapon quest line, but it has too many other things that would happen to the game structure outside of the anima weapon quest line if you were to allow such a thing. So I think that it's better to just have it the way it is and just use the tools that are there. We already have a shit ton of tools that are in the game. The only difference is you just can't level while using them. If you need your anima weapon, that's your prerogative. If you are focused on leveling a job, that's your prerogative. The only time where that really meets is when you're doing the level, the fates, basically when you're doing the Heavensward fates. And I guess technically if you weren't unsynced, even if you are unsynced, no, if you weren't unsynced, you could technically do it with the dungeons as well, but what are the odds of that really happening, right? Alright, next question. What's up, Happy? Second time posting, do you have a Super Saiyan God Goku minion? Oh, God. So someone named Dumb Psyduck sends me screenshots of all the episodes of Dragon Ball Super, because I haven't watched it in several weeks. Man, I feel bad because whoever like they outsource some of these episodes to, like, I'm sorry, but I can do it better. I could probably draw a better episode of Dragon Ball Super than whoever they're hiring to do it. It's been really, really bad. Like, it was bad at the start, and then it was good, and now it's worse than it's ever been. So, moving on from that topic, I have a Savage difficulty-related question since it's a hot topic. Okay, I get these pretty often. I feel like an A3 Savage is one of the best fights in the game, and I agree. I think it's a fight that just encapsulates. I just can't get over the fact that it says eat. It wants you to play your job properly, and it wants you to do the mechanics properly. It's not just demanding that you know how to do the mechanics, it's demanding an actual knowledge and performance on your job, which I don't think is a bad thing. Players like to say, oh, it's because they require too much DPS. It's like, no, they require you to play your job correctly. I do agree that the whole healer DPS thing is a bit over the top, considering that for the healers to not add DPS in, the tanks pretty much have to be pulling X amount numbers more than, you know, most people don't have issues with that, but it's crazy, you know what I'm saying? But I can tell you that we definitely don't need healer DPS anymore. It's just that everyone else needs to be playing at a pretty high level to do it otherwise. So, it's you know, that's just where the real issue lies. It's asking people to play their job correctly. Let me get to the question. I think people would have received Savage better if this huge wall for most players were at A4 instead of A3, and I do agree to some level. I feel like they are almost there versus I still have to do this and then A4 Savage. That's not the only problem. A4 Savage also just boring as fuck. So here goes my question, and stay with me on this. If A1 and A2 Savage swap positions, and I can see why you're saying that, a lot of people consider A2 Savage to be easier, myself included. That being said, A1 Savage is pretty fucking easy, so it's hard to say that. Put a brand new fight for A3 Savage, one that's between in between the current A1 and A3, okay, and then push the current A3 Savage back to A4, got rid of the Manipulator. That seems to be the most common theme. Everyone just wants to get rid of the Manipulator. That's not as easy to do. It makes less sense that A3 Savage is like, what is this living liquid? Why is this the last boss? It's pretty much the same question as, why is the Manipulator the last boss? Why was Twintanya the last boss? Like, none of the last bosses made sense until turn 9, turn 12, and turn 13, really. So let's see. Do you think Savage would have been better received? I don't. I think that no matter what, A3 Savage is the wall. Doesn't matter if you're clearing 2 fights before it or 3 fights before it. If people feel like that is an insurmountable goal, then they are going to they're going to give up on it regardless. They'll just give up a little later than they did before, you know, from a perspective standpoint. What's it called? From a hardcore raider and world first race perspective, would you have satisfied of Living Liquid? Yeah, no, I mean, that difficulty, yes, but not if he had been the final boss. Like, he's a cool boss. He's a play on a boss from Final Fantasy V, which I'm on the last boss of right now, actually, as a matter of fact. That was kind of a Five Nights at Freddy's throwback. Anyway, I don't think he would have been a fitting. I think the Manipulator is a fitting boss. He reminds me of Alexander very much when I look at him. And he reminds me of the Alexander kind of bigger version from Final Fantasy XI. They look nothing alike. I'm just saying, because he doesn't move, it kind of reminds me of that. And he looks very Alexander-esque. Like, he makes sense. It's just the fight didn't come to fruition. I feel like there were better ways to do it, and just lots of things. Crazy things. I think difficulty-wise, I would be okay with that. I think that's still not going to please the majority of raiders, and as much as I think your solution is great, I don't think it's a solution they're going to go with. And it's a solution that I myself have, you know, suggested many a time before. It also would have made progression a lot shorter. Would have been done with all of Savage in 2 weeks instead of, what, like 6, 7 weeks? I don't even remember when I eventually killed it after people had to take weeks off and shit like that. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Midas, but I don't think, it doesn't matter what we kind of hypothesize right now, they're going to do whatever the hell they want when it comes to that. And I don't think the DPS checks are going to be very tight at all when we get to Alexander Midas. We'll see, though. We'll have to see. Alright, next question. Happy Monday, Mr. Happy. You too. Let's talk through 10 weapons real quick here. With what Yoshi said and you predicted about the Relic's time to thank you for acknowledging that, by the way. About the Relic's time to completion being mirrored by how long it'd take to get a 210 weapon via Savage, should Void Arc award Gob Dip only after, like, 3.2? I mean, they were debating, should we even put a Gob Dip in Void Arc because of that same dilemma. That's why we don't have Gob Dips in the Void Arc or from the Hunt right now, is because of that balancing issue. So, no, it won't, and I don't think it should. based on their explanation for the animal weapon. So that's the answer to the first question, but you have a second one right here. Thank you for bolding the TLDRs, by the way. Second and last question, how do you feel how the I-200 weapons were handled in 3.05? Do you prefer being able to buy them after saving up for 3 weeks, or do you prefer having the weapon tombstone drop off the second boss in the rate similar to how Coil handled it? Just to be clear, you still needed 3 weeks worth of tombstones for Coil. You just also needed this unidentified Allegan tombstone, or this encrypted. What was the other one? Yeah, the encrypted Allegan tombstone. You still needed like 1,300 tombstones. You just also needed this item. So I mean, the question you're proposing doesn't really make sense. Just to be clear. I know it's easy to forget those things from the past, but that is how it worked back then. Now, keep in mind that in the next raid tier, it's going to be a lot closer to what Coil offered. I'm predicting it will be a lot closer to what Coil offered, in a sense that you'll be able to spend tombstones plus you know, like a gob stone or something like that from A6. I assume that will be a way to get an introductory weapon. I suspect you'll be able to upgrade it with... Actually, you know what? I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they'll do like a gobstone. I think they'll just do... You need Tomestones of Transcendence, or whatever they're going to be called. And then from A7, you'll need an upgrade material to get it to whatever item level it's going to be. And then the final boss from Midas will drop the best weapon, and then eventually the anima will match that weapon. So I expect that to be the path that it takes, again, just because Yoshi P has flat out said we need to make the item level and the weapons higher from Savage. That's just the bottom line, how it has to happen. So I expect it to change to be like that. But I take back the thing I said about the gobstone. I don't think they're going to do tombstones plus an item from A6 to get a weapon. I don't think they'll do it again. And next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, have a plant for your new home. Thank you. 2 questions this week. Thanks in advance. You're welcome in advance. I haven't even answered them yet. Yeah. My first question is, when provoking mid-fight, is it range attack then provoke, or provoke then range attack? Okay, so let me start by saying you provoke... you're talking about mid-fight. I mean, here you list an example of Bismarck Extreme, the second phase. I'm assuming you're talking about tank swapping the adds, because that's the only time you would use it. You really only use provoke when you need to immediately remove aggro, another player from the top part of the aggro list, because that's all it does. All it does is take whoever has the highest amount of aggro and add 1 to it, and then it's up to you to maintain that higher spot. And that doesn't always involve using a ranged attack. Ranged attack is okay if you're not in range of the target, but you should be provoking then using a combo ability like Rage of Halone or Butcher's Block or Power Slash. You shouldn't always default to a ranged attack. In the case of Bismarck, when those adds spawn, you start with an enmity combo. I believe if you're out of range, it's okay to throw one range, but you don't provoke it as soon as it spawns. That's not the right way to go about it. You only do that if you're saying, hey, I'm giving it all I got. Maybe this monk's got more gear. Maybe he's a better player, and he's pulling aggro from me. He has aggro. I will provoke it off him and hit it with Rage of Halone. That way I can guarantee I'm ahead of him on the aggro list. You wouldn't just be like in the middle of your combos and then be like, oh shit, provoke ranged attack. You know what I'm saying? So just to be clear, don't worry so much about that. You need to focus on your enmity generating combo and putting the final step of that after provoke when you're doing things like tank swaps and whatnot. The second question you have here, do you think Square Enix will introduce a way to skip story, dungeons, and trials? Now, I've actually already read this. I've read most of these actually ahead of time this week. So you're basically saying that while you understand that people can't skip the story for 2.1 to 2.55, you want them to be able to skip the instances. I don't see that happening because that is part of the story. That'd be like if I was playing, I guess Final Fantasy V is a good example, and we're in the final dungeon, right? And this is the way to get to the end of the story, and the final boss is right there. And this is the equivalent of me just not needing to do that. And then I just get to the final cutscene when I get there, and like it all just plays out as if I had won and everything. So, I mean, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I know it's a single-player RPG versus an MMO, but that's how it is. Now, for 3.1 to 3.55, which is I'm assuming going to be the final patch of the expansion, you won't need to do those to get to the 4.x story, the 4.0 story. They're going to incorporate some sort of shortcut way to do it. That's not going to happen with the 2.1 to 2.55, but it's going to happen with 3.1 to 3.55. So keep that in mind whenever you're recruiting a friend, that they won't have to deal with that come 4.0 time, but they will have to at least get to 3.0 that way. As annoying as it may seem, it is a game, it is a Final Fantasy game. Narrative and story is an important aspect of it. My thing is, don't look at it as a hurdle, look at it as, hey, I have this story to enjoy, I have this content to enjoy, let me enjoy it. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, longtime viewer, first-time asker. As a Final Fantasy XI player since launch, I can't give you a bonus. I hope you understand. Is it weird that I do understand? Because there is no reason for me to understand that, but I do. Oh well. First off, thanks for the videos. Many have been very helpful, and congrats on all the success in-game and on Twitch, YouTube. Hey, I have you guys to thank for that. And of course, Mel, who's I'm hoping I'm not keeping awake right now because she's laying down, but I don't know. Shh. Anyway, question time. What advice would you give someone who tends to get tunnel vision on their ability bars when learning a new job? Sometimes some jobs they play full time. Oh, so even on like your main it's happening, looking for procs, constantly checking. So step number 1, learn how to do your combos with the HUD turned off. Turn off all the HUD, build muscle memory. Go through your rotation with just minus procs, unless of course you know it's something like Black Mage where you're sharp casting and you know you'll get a proc. Or, I don't know, you can't really see Thundercloud procs. But yeah, that's kind of all I'm really saying. And then maybe in your head time blood letters as if you got no procs. Start with that. Then turn the HUD back on and put your procs very close to the middle of your character. This is something I actually do to prevent tunnel vision, and I keep it that way because it helps keep me from tunnel visioning at all. I put the most important abilities, or abilities that are proc based, in the middle of the screen, just below my character portrait. So I can be looking at my character, seeing my character's feet, knowing where I need to move, and if something pops up, I can then subsequently notice it, use it, utilize it. So those are the 2 steps that I recommend taking. Now, those aren't guaranteed success, and there are other ways. So if anybody else has any recommendations, things they did, I highly recommend you leave those in the comment section of the video below. 2. Do you think they'll ever change up the leveling method? Spamming fates and dungeons is pretty boring. I miss old Final Fantasy XI for the sole fact there are EXP parties. I miss 1.0 due to the fact there are EXP parties. So let me just say, you've pretty much just taken one evil and said, I prefer this evil. Because spamming fates, easily accessible, doable. Yes, it's not very exciting. Dungeons, you know, depending. Sometimes you meet interesting people. Sometimes it leaves you with stories like, I can't believe this happened today in the Duty Finder. Unbelievable. But you look back and you laugh at those stories later. EXP parties, kind of the combination of the two, because here's my memory of Final Fantasy XI EXP parties. Looking for group, or, okay, I'm going to make a group. Okay, grab this person, can't find a tank. Alright, finally, after 10 minutes, found a tank. Alright, looking for a healer. Alright, I have a friend coming out, he'll be here in 20 minutes. Okay, guys, alright, we have all 6 people together. Alright, now we need to go to the camp. Alright, who here has their Chocobo license? I don't have my Chocobo license. Alright, well shit, then, do you have Sneak and Invis? No, I don't have powders, couldn't afford them. Okay, can the White Mage cast Sneak and Invis on them? Aggro magic? Who gives a shit? You just have to do it out of range. So we get to the spot, okay, maybe, okay, shit, this guy died on the way here. Okay, don't worry, I'll be there. Just give me 5 more minutes. All right, 5 minutes, comes back, dies again. Fuck it. He's on his way back. Okay, now he's on his way back. He finally makes it past that one dancing fucking weapon that it is that's in the way in Kufium Island. And then you're like, okay, we're here at the worms. All right, great. Fucking, you're level 18, 18, 18, 19, 22, 21. Shit, to get this level 22, you fucked my EXP out of the way. I guess I should have joined the party. Fuck it, I guess it's the only EXP party around here, so I might as well take it. We can still get some good EXP if we get some fast kills going. Alright, so now we start getting the kills going, but the kills are taking a little bit longer than anticipated. Also, my headset just turned off, and I don't know if that made a noise for you guys, because there's no sound coming in through these things. So then you're going through, and, you know, you're killing, you don't even know if this party's going to be a success. Oh, shit, we died to the this fucking crab that's here. Oh, shit, well, now we got to run all the way back. Fuck it, let's just disband. And 6 hours of my time was just wasted. That's my memory of. Obviously, that wasn't every EXP party, but let's be fair. We all have a lot of memories of those EXP parties. I don't think trading out fates and dungeons for that is any more exciting. And then at the end of the day, you are just killing 1 to 3 types of enemies over and over and over. Exactly the same as fates and dungeons. So it's really no different. It was just another means to hate yourself later for it. So, I don't know. That's all I really have to say about the topic. And then number 3, why were Heavensward Fates designed the way they are? Most of them have monsters that spawn outside of Fate. I fucking hate that. Because of, I just got really Hulk right there. Because when you're doing your crystals, you either are on a job that can that's around the level of the Fate, or you just stand inside and like, please, I just want to hit this enemy, throw daggers and shit as Ninja. So the reason why this was done is because these Fates are a lot harder, or they were designed to be a lot harder at their base. So what that ends up meaning is that it takes a little bit of time, and you're more likely to take quite a bit more damage than you would normally, like in the Realm Reborn Fates. So what it is you kill the enemy, and just in case you're dealing with multiple enemies at once, they don't want to immediately spawn another enemy right on top of you that's going to be too tough for you to kill, and it's going to all of a sudden make this in an unplayable situation. So that's why it is. You know, the Realm Reborn Fates, they didn't care if it popped right on top of you, because those Fates were so easy. But this case, a lot different. That's why they were designed that way, I can only imagine at the very least, but it is fucking annoying now that they've nerfed it a million times. Just, I don't care, just stick it inside, or we just gotta get on another job and suck it up. But yeah, I agree, it's pretty annoying. Alright, next question. Hey, Mr. Happy, no bonus for you. Instead, you can have some good fortune for the coming year. Thank you, my friend. My question is, do you think Square Enix will ever implement some sort of glamour for a summon or something? Oh, I talk about this all the time. Yeah, they said they're working on it. That you'll be able to interchange out the pets. Just for an appearance sake, it'll still perform exactly the same. Yeah, they're working on it. We don't know when. It's difficult because everyone just says, oh, just add in the models. It's like, you gotta add in the models. You gotta make sure they're animated. You gotta make sure they have attack animations for all the different attacks that they have. You gotta make sure that you build a UI system around it. You gotta make sure the UI system's not buggy. You got to make sure that what's it called? I had another point. I had one last point, and now I forgot what it was. And then you got to think about, are we going to design more in the future? Do we have to plan out more ahead of time? You know, do we do Ravana? Do we do Bismarck? So it becomes a pain in the ass. But they are planning on doing it. I just don't know what the end result is going to be. So, I mean, you know, fingers crossed. We'll get it before 4.0, but who the hell knows, right? Next question. Hey, Hap. Hope the move went well. It's going good so far. I'm a first-time poster and a long-time viewer, so I have a bonus for the next Homestone weapon for Ninja. No skill speed, please. Thank you. My question relates to A3 Savage, my static's problem with it. I was going to write out a long explanation, but you're a busy man, so I'll just TLDR. You're the fucking man for TLDRing. That's all you wrote here. All you wrote was a TLDR. You're the fucking man for doing that. TLDR, my static is currently on A3 Savage. We've attempted the fight 2 or 3 times and made it to the final phase. If you've done this fight 2 or 3 times and made it to the final phase, how the fuck are you even having problems? Why? I mean, I know you explain it here, but like, that's I don't know if I believe you. I'm just going to say that right out. I don't know if I believe you 2 or 3 times. Where we have been wiping through the cluster coopity of AoEs. Alright. Rather than being a mechanical or DPS problem, we, or rather the same of our other group, about 3 or 4, are continually making excuses in order to avoid the fight. It's pretty obvious looking back, and I'm sure the reason is this combination of intimidation for A3 Savage being the static breaker. You know how it breaks statics? By people bitching out and not doing the fight. It breaks statics like that too, so it can't be. If it's the intimidation of it, maybe they just don't want to stand out as a less than exceptional player, if anything. Along with the Relic coming out, yeah, that's probably going to be a big part of it. My group is definitely has the talent to beat the fight, especially if you are telling the truth about your rapid progress. But I'm unsure if we'll ever see the clear at this point. Group of Man is free company exclusive group when we all get along. What should you do? Tell them to beef the fucking man up. Tell them, hey, guys, do the fight. You know what's going to help us in Alexander Midas? If we can beat A3 Savage now, then it'll help us mechanically and with our jobs for Alexander Midas. So let's get in there, fuck your Relic weapons, let's go and get some Gordian weapons. What bam! Realistically, don't approach it like that exactly. Don't use those words at the very least, but you gotta just kick them in, just kick their ass, kick them into gear, get them motivated, be like, we're gonna do it! Yeah! Next question. Hey, Happy first-time asker, long-time viewers. Do you have any bonus choosing 2,000 uncapped tomestones of Bomb Cena? Come on now. All jokes aside, I main warrior and so does my friend. We have the same gear and play exactly the same, at least in theory. However, my best DPS on A1 Savage is 972, whilst his is a cool 1139. We tried to decipher what could cause this, and our playstyles matched up. We turned to grasping at straws and hypothetical because he uses keyboard and mouse and I use controller. So does controller type affect DPS, or is there something else going on? There's one of 3 things going on. First, he's killing it in 1 jump, you're killing it in 2 jumps. That's probably going to account for some DPS, unless you're killing it at the exact same speed, which is unlikely if you're doing 200 less DPS. That's number 1. Number 2, you're not playing the same. He's playing in Deliverance more, he's maximizing his global cooldowns more, he's Berserk timing better, he's internal release timing better, he's not playing as safe, he's not going into Defiance when, you know, you're going into Defiance. I have a feeling it's a combination of reasons 1 and 2. Number 3 is that, It's that I don't know, that you have lag? Like, I don't know, I had a third reason, I forgot what it was. But it's most likely those two things in combination. Your group is killing it slower, therefore you're getting more jumps, which inherently lowers your damage output. And, or, you know, it could be one or the other, you're not playing exactly like him, he's playing less safe, using cooldowns using cooldowns properly, using strength potions, whatever not. I have a feeling it's more the first one than the second one, because you seem pretty confident in that, but those are the two things I would look at. Alright, next question. Hey, Hap, how you doing? Welcome to Los Angeles. I hope you're settled in and comfortable. Eat, sleep, game, repeat. I actually don't live in LA. I thought I should welcome you anyway. That's awkward. Here's a new chapter in your life bonus. An animal weapon of your choosing. Give me all of them. Just not one. Give me all of them. Fuck it. I have 2 questions for you, so here we go. When is the next live letter? January 23rd? January 30th. Do you think they'll talk about the change to the way the tanks do damage? I hope so, although I'm assuming vitality will affect the damage that they deal. That's my guess, at least at the very least. Sure, this is a very easy first question. Number 2, what do you think of the distribution of the loot in current Savage, with accessories dropping from the first boss, waist, feet, and hands? I went to go say head instead of hands. From the second boss, head and legs from the third boss, etc. I'm actually a fan of it. I think it makes it so that the most influential pieces are earned later on, though I do miss the opportunity, like some jobs, getting their body piece from like the second floor or the first floor, and it's like, yes, that crazy good upgrade that I could have gotten, I got it here, as opposed to, yeah, I got a new accessory, whatever. So I think there's room for the loot system to grow, but it makes sense that the most rewarding or the most influential pieces to your job are the pieces that you get from earning on the hardest fights. It makes sense. So I'm okay with it for the time being. But I wouldn't mind if the distribution changed again. Just, it's whatever, right? It makes it easy to do that token system at the same time as well. Next question. Happy Sunday, Happy. I hope you have a great week. See, you knew it was Sunday. I like you. I was wondering if you act differently being on camera than you would around people IRL, or do you keep the same mojo? So I try to keep the same mojo, but my mannerisms are a bit different. I'm not very shy. I mean, you can see the way I am in the video now. You can see the way I am in a recording for a guide or, you know, an informational video. And then you see me on my live stream, and you see the mannerisms are quite different. I have a far fouler mouth. You know, you see me rage a little bit more. You can see that there are indeed differences between, you know, when I'm trying to act professional while still being myself versus just, yeah, I'm there and it's my career, but I'm also comfortable, and I want you guys to understand that. And then, of course, not in front of the camera at all is a totally different thing, although most of the time I keep the mojo. I just like to smile. I just like to make sure the people around me are smiling, and that's really the most important thing. Same thing, fouler mouth. And also, I'm into some edgy, what's it called, comedy, like Louis C.K. and whatnot, so sometimes in real life it's really awkward, if, you know, we're both people who know that kind of comedy, because you're like, oh my god, Happy listens to that stuff? He doesn't seem like the kind of guy. I'm definitely the kind of guy, don't you worry about that. So it is a bit different, but it's not different to the point where it's really a different person, it's just the way I present my person. That kind of changes around depending on whether I'm on YouTube, Twitch, or meet me in real life. But you can ask other people. I met people at FanFest, I met people at the PAX at TwitchCon, you know, and they'll tell you that while it is different, it's not that much different to the point where I'm unrecognizable from a personality perspective. Still very easy to approach, don't mind questions, don't mind talking to people, and don't mind pictures, of course, which I took like 200 of at Fan Festival. So, hopefully that answers your question adequately, my friend. Alright, next question. Hi, Mr. Happy. Here's a very important question. Are hot dogs considered sandwiches? You know, I don't know. What is the actual definition of a sandwich? Let's figure that out on the show right now. Sandwich definition. An item of food consisting of 2 pieces of bread with meat, cheese, or other filling between them, eaten as a light meal. Or as a verb, to sandwich something. Okay, yeah. So yeah, hot dog. Hot dog definitely a sandwich. I was gonna say yes regardless, but I wanted to look up the definition just to make sure that I had Merriam-Webster or Oxford or something behind me. So yeah, I would say a hot dog is definitely a sandwich. Alright, next question. We're starting to approach towards the end. I think I have a handful of questions left, so thank you for all of you who have been asking questions. If I didn't get to your question, it was either because I was uncomfortable answering it, or it was a question that I've answered in the previous weeks. So just keep that in mind. Hello, Happy, long-time viewer, first time asking, so I have a thing. I don't know, I'm bad at this stuff. It's alright, high five. It's A for effort. E for effort? A for effort. Alright. Here is my question. I left my static a while back after we had cleared a 3 Savage, and we weren't a very hardcore static and rated an average of 3 hours on raid nights, 4 hours tops. I'm thinking about joining a static that wants to compete when the next set of Alex comes out, that means compete on a World Prog scenario, I'm assuming. That's a pretty big step, man. I mean, going in the day of and having many more raid hours with breaks, of course. My question is, what is it like within those types of raid environments? I'm curious and slightly nervous, and you should be, to enter this type of raiding due to not wanting to completely regret doing this and bailing on them in the middle of it due to not being able to compete for whatever reason, specifically school. Thanks for the help, Happy, and have a great year. Okay, so first of all, you're doing the responsible thing by researching the scenario before actually going into it. It is a beast. I'll tell you that this much. First of all, you need Gil saved up. You need your gear mapped out. How are you going to approach accuracy? As soon as shit hits XIVDB or Aureala, you need to be calculating, where can I get accuracy? What pieces will net me the most gain? Do I have potions ready? Do I have food ready? Do I have somebody who can craft me these things if I don't have them ready, or if I need more of them? How many hours am I willing to put in? Do I know my job properly? Is my rotation sound? How many hours am I willing to put in at a time? How many days am I willing to put those hours in? How long are our breaks? What kind of food am I going to eat? Because you don't want to go hungry on those kind of days either. You don't want to go hungry, you don't want to go thirsty. A lot of thought goes into it. And the most important thing is that people are going to fucking hate each other for a good portion of that time. Because people are going to fuck up, there's some people who are going to understand mechanics fast, some people who are going to hold you back, some people who are just going to be harder to work with, and you're not going to see that side of them until you're already in there. So it's a huge amount of time dedication, it's a huge amount of personal dedication, and you really need to be sure that it's going to be the right thing for you. Competing on that scale is something that takes quite a bit of hard work, and is it worth doing that kind of progression versus going back to a static that does similar progression to what you were doing before? That's something you're going to have to weigh yourself. I just hope that when it comes down to it, you make the right decision for you. Alright, next question. Hi, Mr. Happy. I'm afraid I do not have a bonus for you this week, as I have a more serious question. Respectable, that I hope you will be able to answer. I will place a TLDR at the bottom, but please, if you could read the entire paragraph, as it will help with the issue. Alright, fair enough. I am not sure if you have heard, but the Heavensward voice actor Yugiri Sean Black, or Sion, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Yes, I have heard about the scenario. I'm not going to detail yet. I completely agree. We don't need to explain the whole story. My condolences to the family, to the friends of the person, and of course to the community, because it's probably not going to be the same. Whatever happens with Yugiri, it's going to be incredibly odd knowing the reason why it happened. So my condolences out to them. Rest in peace. Amen. While this is a very sad time, browsing the forums have also revealed there are other players wishing to honor their fallen friends who are sadly no longer able to enjoy. I have seen a lot of the vigils. I have attended a vigil before, a vigil or two before, so I understand that. I was wondering your thoughts on SC creating a place to honor both players and staff who passed away during 14's lifetime. I know people have mentioned this and have done it in other MMOs, specifically WoW, though I don't know if 11 ever did this. While I can't say Square Enix will ever use my idea, a new instanced area where there are portraits of the player character honoring them for their service in the wars. Obviously, there's going to be some, problems with that, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here. Obviously, there would be some problems with that, making sure that's legitimate, how many people put in a petition for it. I think it would be nice if Sion Black and her two sons were made into NPCs. It would be a nice way to honor her and her contribution to the game. TLDR, should Square Enix honor both supporters and staff who have fallen during the lifetime? I don't think it's on Square Enix to do that. I don't think they need to create a means through which we should use, that we should focus all our efforts on, because that's basically like creating a graveyard. And I don't know about you, but while it is nice to have those kind of things, to have a way of remembering people, it's also nice to see what the players themselves come up with. And if it was limited to a system like this where you honor them in this Fallen Hall, you wouldn't have these as big of these events that you see when people are paying respects across all the servers. Yes, people would still do it to some degree, but then it kind of it stifles the player's ability to properly express the way that they want to, in favor of just sort of sticking it in a hallway. And also, in that hallway, while it is a basic, the one thing I think the hallway, or the Hall of the Fallen, which is what I'm going to call it, Hall of the Fallen, would kind of benefit, is that if you don't know these people who passed, you can walk up to them, read their contribution, read something that was written by the person who arranged the event, who put the space there, and then you can learn a little bit about that player and the way that they reached out to people. And sometimes that's just interesting to do. I think that there's some merit to it, but I also see that that's development time towards kind of a really sad and not really a new feature. You wouldn't really want to go and talk about a feature like this to, we're creating this way to honor fallen. Oh, that's so commemorable. But, while people think that's the case, they also have to think about their development time towards making sure that the game is successful. And I can definitely understand that's a rough balance. I think the way we have it now, where players are able to pay respects to their own creativity, is adequate. Maybe if there was ever a way to do it in the future, if they could find a way to do it without, sort of pushing back other pieces of content, that would be fine, and that it's actually a good idea. But I think that we should leave it in the hands of the players for now, and, we'll always pay the respects whenever respects are due. Alright, next question. Hi, Mr. Happy. Have a crit rate animal for this. Thank you for bonus. 3 short questions like this. They're all ninja related. So 1, I have a doubt about gearing ninja. I have the Void Arc chest. I'm mainly building crit, but I'm thinking about getting the 210 ESO chest. Was it worth dropping the 86 crit? So someone just asked me this on stream the other day. Might have been you even. And technically, the Void Arc chest, according to Dervy's stat weights, is better than the ESO chest. I don't know if that'll be reflected properly because of the means of critical hit chance. Because if you have a really bad fight, all of a sudden critical hit rate doesn't feel like 14 dexterity worth of critical hit rate. Whereas you can have the consistent 8 critical hit rate plus the skill speed, which more readily kind of shows the hit rate. They're pretty near equal according to stat weights, with the other one only being like 1 dexterity better. But if you don't have anything to spend your ESOs on, and you really need the accuracy for A3 Savage Frontal, I would consider it. Just don't consider it too much if there's other solutions that you could reach. Number 2, what do you think about the Ninja Anima? I've been reading that the Ninja with 645 skill speed rocket spikes his damage, but with TP rocket fuel. Link to the previous question, would it be recommended for a crit-centric build? I mean, you just go with the stat weights, assuming stat weights are correct. Which, the people like Derby who put the work into that, they do excellent work. And it's to be assumed that it's accurate work. I mean, they've been accurate, and it's been, sort of just kind of... not recycled. There's a word I'm looking for. It's been reaffirmed by the community that those numbers are kind of showing in favor of what Derby has found and what other people have found who have done stat weights in the past. That being said, the Ninja Anima is pretty shit. It's better than the 210 ESO weapon, and it's definitely better than the Dagger of the Heavens. But that's because it gives weapon damage, not because it has skill speed. You know what I'm saying? So, it's better than those options if you can't beat A4 Savage, pretty much. And then on the third question, in A3 Savage, I've been reading about a crucial role of Smokescreen on that fight, but probably I've missed something along the lines because my tank doesn't have aggro problems. It's not that it's crucial, but if your tank isn't having too many aggro problems, that could mean that your healer's not DPSing a lot, that... because it's really only White Mages and Astros that have that issue on that fight. And even then, it's only early in the fight. As soon as you get to... Shroud of Saints, a White Mage kind of loses that issue, although they can get it back by the end of the Tornado phase if it's not done carefully enough. But if your tank is not going into... the reason why Smokescreen is usually supposed to Smokescreen your White Mage and Shadewalker your tank. Usually I Shadewalker the tank, and then after my rotation, my opener is done, I Smokescreen the healer, because that's when the AoE heals start coming out. Around that same time, that's usually, the entire time, our tank is usually not in his tank stance. He's usually done one combo in his tank stance, a Power Slash for a Dark Knight, a buffed Power Slash, and then he just moves on, and he just does the rest of the fight without it. So, obviously, it's more important to have enmity controlling tools in that case. So, if that's the case where you're not having that issue, your tank may be spending too much time in his tank stance compared to what most people are expecting. Or your healer isn't doing as much damage plus healing in that phase as other healers are doing. So hopefully that's the case. Also, when you're going to get your Advanced Ninja Guide, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it, because obviously I'm going to have to include the Shasta opener, and Shasta is the one who deserves credit for that opener, so I have to decide how I'm going to handle it. Obviously, making sure the original person who posted it, and because it's a great guide, if I'm going to reference it at all, needs to be referenced in the guide, needs to be given the proper credit. But at the same time, I have to wonder, do I need to put another guide out in that case until Ninja changes and I feel the need to do so myself? We'll see, because people have been asking for that and a monk guide recently, so maybe I do it just out of demand, but I have to pay respects to the people who I learned from, or who I learned something from that I can incorporate in my guide. So we'll see. I haven't decided exactly yet, but we will see. Anyway, next question. Sup haps, I have a ranged DPS accuracy caps. Question, I'm assuming. I know casters gear towards rear, but should Bard and Machinist gear themselves the same as melee? Yeah. They have the same, it's a physical accuracy cap. If you're standing in front of an enemy as a Bard or Machinist, it treats you as if you were a melee standing in front of them. So yes, you want to be aiming for the same accuracy caps that you do on melee jobs. Next question. Sup, breh? Remember the very first time you entered turn 13? I do very well. I was it was week 2 into Prague at the time. It had already been beaten on the 5th day. You got world first and then world second within that time. And world thirded, I believe, within that time. And I had just joined a new static who had already beaten 10, 11, and 12. We beat 10, 11, and 12. I hopped into 13. I already knew what 13 was, but it was badass as fuck. Number one, how disappointed were you at the time we got a mini Bahamut instead of real thing? There's no way we could fight the real thing. For the longest time, I didn't even think we were going to fight Bahamut. I thought he was just going to possess something. Like it was going to be Louis Suave possessed by Bahamut, and it was going to be a smaller version of him. I never for one second thought we were going to fight the full-size Bahamut. You can't win that fight. Do you think we'll ever get to see Bahamut again in a fight in his true self? No, because you will lose. Unless you are a Primal, and you are Louis Suave, and you are Phoenix, you will lose that fight, so no. 3, also, how are you expecting Bahamut's fight to be? Like I said, I didn't expect it right away, but I expected it was going to be pretty similar to the way it was. I expected it was going to be dive bombs, fiery wall, and a lot of damage. I didn't expect it to be super mechanically heavy, but I had a feeling his theme is overwhelming power. That's Bahamut's thing. So I completely expected it to be the way that it was, and, well, I wasn't disappointed, but it definitely wasn't as hard as turn 9 was, at least in my opinion. Next question. Hey Haps, first time, I'll say that. Asker, so, have law bonus. Nice. I have an Astrologian question, but it relates to Ninja. What do you think about the Astrologian giving the Spear card, more specifically an extended spear to ninjas, primarily for use of ninjutsus? An extended spear would help lower the time for 16 seconds, allowing for 3 ninjutsus in the duration of the spear. Would this help or hurt ninjas with DPS? So without kind of going into the specifics of, which fight is it, or anything, I immediately think off the top of my head that's going to fuck with Suiton timing over the course of an entire fight. Just because you're used to this, hey, I get this every 20 seconds, plus, the time with Kasatsu, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, here's this, and does it throw it off? Like, I don't know off the top of my head. Theoretically, it's an increase, it's ninjutsu coming faster. If you use Kasatsu, it's faster. You use any cooldown, any blood for blood, dream within a dream, duality, any of that comes back up faster. Realistically, all good things. If it's present for the entire opener, it's probably the right thing. Oh wait, I just realized if you're using Trick Attack during that time, then yeah, it's fucking. The answer is a fucking yes. I don't know. I'm a fucking idiot when it comes to shit like this. As long as it's being used on everything, and it doesn't throw off your timings for everything, then yes. Otherwise, I would give it to a machinist or a summoner. I feel like they have far more use for spear cards than most of the other jobs do. And we get down to the final question. Hey, Happy, I just got done listening to your last Mondays with Mr. Happy. Thank you for listening to the other one. Also, you're a first-time poster, so thank you for coming by. Someone asked about a Garlean job that uses a gunblade, but I had a further thought. What about a Legatus job? I'm probably going to have to explain lore-wise what a Legatus is, but let's finish the question. You mentioned needing a Garlean hookup, and we do technically have one other than Sid, Nero. Either in an effort to power grab, or perhaps tasking us with a legacy he cannot continue. This seems like a good way to introduce an enemy job. Do you think we could ever get a badass hammer job in the form of a Nero Legatus job? So first of all, let me say that Nero is not a Legatus. So I learned this from Ethos. There are different terms for the different positions of people within the Garlean army. So Nero Toll Scava. Toll is the key word there. Toll is his position, which I believe is something in the military. He's like a higher up military leader. Below a Legatus, though, Gaius Van Belsar. The term Van is the term that describes a Legatus. Nail Van Darnus. Nail Van Darnus, he was a Legatus because of the term Van. So first of all, he's not a Legatus. Second of all, like I said, a Legatus has nothing to do with a job. It is a military ranking. So it wouldn't make sense to have a Legatus job, because that would basically be marking you as somebody within the Garlean army, and a position within the Garlean army. Thank you, Ethos, for teaching me that in one of our Aerosivias, by the way, because that still sticks with me to this day. I don't remember what all of them mean, but I just remember Zos, Toll, and I can't remember what Toll is exactly, but I know it's below Legatus, so I know that you could then reapply. What if it was a Toll job? But that's not what they mean. It's the weapon that you use and the way that you use it. That's what determines what kind of class or job that a character really is. I would like to see a hammer wielding job one day, but I don't think it will be anything like Nero. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, thank you everyone for asking your questions this week. Be sure to ask your questions for next week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. In the description of the video, you'll find a link to the Dream Network forums. You go there, you post your question, and I answer it. Pretty much the same way, same thing I said at the beginning of the show. And again, thank you everyone for asking your questions this week. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share it with your Final Fantasy XIV friends. So if they have a question, they can come ask me as well. But anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you all next week. And until then, take care.